All right, we're back. I hope you had a chance to build this or build something like this. If you didn't, if you had problems, you want to just kind of take what I have and build on it, you can find in the file section on Canvas a file called in-class demo Pokedex SwiftUI Part 1, which is where I'm at right at this point. And so we're going to take this and build on it. Now, in order to be able to build on this, we need to have another screen, another page that this thing can go to. That's our detail view. And unlike storyboards, we don't get to see all those things all at once where they're all arrayed out next to each other. Instead, we literally just have to make a whole new one of these Swift files. And inside of that will be our detail view. And then we need to connect the two. Now, that sounds a little bit more complex than it is. It's really actually quite simple. So let's just go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and go into File, New, File. And you might need to scroll down to see this. Sometimes this view is a little bit small, but down here you see new SwiftUI view. So we're not going to build a new Cocoa Touch class. We're going to be building a new SwiftUI view. So select that, hit Next. I'm going to call this Pokemon Detail. And so now I have a new one of these Hello Worlds. This is my Pokemon detail view. And I'm just going to make this really pretty simple. This little guy, it's not going to hold a lot of stuff. I'm going to expect you to kind of build this out. What this is just going to do is simply display in this text box the name of the Pokemon that you clicked on. Now, to be able to figure out how the name of the Pokemon that you clicked on works, we do need to make this thing have variables, because you're going to have to pass, just like you would with a segue. It's a little bit easier in the way that we're going to do it, but you're going to pass a variable from the first page to the second page. So specifically, I'm going to pass which index that you had tapped on in my list. If you had tapped on the 0th one, the first one, the second one, etc. So we're going to make this change a little bit. We're going to use some real stuff that we're a little bit more familiar with from programming standpoint and from a Swift standpoint. And we're just going to create a variable. And only this variable is called Pokemon Index. And it's going to be an int. And so that's going to be 0, 1, 2, or 3, depending on which one of the three that you had tapped on. Or 0, 1, or 2, rather. And you can see I get an error message saying, hey, wait a minute. This doesn't look right. Now, here's the downside of SwiftUI. They have not cleaned up these error messages very well. They're a little bit janky. But what it's trying to say is here that when this thing, which we haven't talked about, this is basically gets run to instantiate the screen. This is kind of like the view to load, kind of. And what it's saying is, hey, I want to run Pokemon Detail. Pokemon Detail is this right here. And it's saying, in order to run Pokemon Detail, I have to include Pokemon Index, which is an int. So what I'm not sure if fix will work. Yeah, it doesn't quite work. It adds Pokemon Index. So I got to give it a default value. So I'll say the default is 0. And then what we're going to do is have this text not just say hello world. I want this text to say whatever Pokemon Index was set to. And so when I run this, this will actually say, sorry, it doesn't like having it as an int. So I got to convert the int to a string, just like you would do with labels. That's not new. And so what it's saying is, I want this text label to have the string of Pokemon Index. Pokemon Index is an int, and its default state is 0. And it's not updating because I had to hit resume. And so you can see default, it sets to 0. Great. What we're going to do now, though, is in the first page, when you click on one of the list items, we're going to change what Pokemon Index is from being 0 to being whichever one you had tapped on. So let's go ahead and add that interactivity to our list. So we're going to go back to our content view. And what we're going to say is, hey, these H stacks, they're not just H stacks. I don't want these things just to be these that just sit there. I want to make these things interactive. And so I'm going to wrap this entire H stack inside of what's called a navigation link. And a navigation link has to have a destination. So where do you want this link to go? And you're like, well, I don't know. What is the destination? How do you call that? It's really simple. It's just whatever the name of this was. So you can see this is called Pokemon Detail, and it's called down here inside of this struct Pokemon Detail Pokemon index :0. We're going to do the same thing, only we're going to copy. I'll just copy this. And I want to load Pokemon Detail, and it set its index to 0. And then I take this navigation link and wrap it around the entire H stack. I'll scroll this out so it's a little bit clearer. And you can see over here in my little preview window, get some more room. In my little preview window, it's added a disclosure indicator, which means this is clickable. And so I can actually run this and run my little preview by hitting, we'll run a more live preview. And so now this is actually interactive. And so I can tap on this and say that now goes to the detail view, and it shows 0. And I can go back and I can do it again, but I'm not going to. Because what I want to do is add another navigation link in the exact same way to Charmander and Articuno. So I'm going to take this navigation link, copy it, wrap it around the entire H stack, paste another one, wrap it around the entire H stack, go in and clean up my indentation. Only this one doesn't need to be 0, this needs to be 1, and this one needs to be 2, because that's 0, 1, 2. And let's run it. Oh, or I could hit resume, or I can run it in the actual simulator. So I had that on my other screen. Let me bring that over. Here's the actual simulator running just like our normal stuff. I'm going to say, hey, I want to go to this. It says 0. If I hit Charmander, it will say 1. And if I hit Articuno, it'll say 2. Awesome. Sweet. It's working exactly how I want. And so now it's fairly trivial to take that 0, 1, 2, or 0, 1, or 2 and do stuff with it. So I'm going to go back into my detail view and do some more interesting things with the detail view. Make sure that's working for you. So go ahead and get this far where you can make it interactive, and then we'll build out the detail view to actually show some more interesting information.